Hi, my name is Melissa Garcia, and this is my final speech, Inspirational. What is a parent? The definition, according to the Merriam-Webster Online Dictionary, is this: a person who is a father or a mother, a person who has a child, or a person who brings up and cares for another. I have a few more thoughts for you to ponder. According to the CDC abortion surveillance for the United States, in the year 1984, the abortion ratio was 364 legally induced abortions for every 1,000 live births. Abortion rates were higher among minority races and among women 15 years and younger. Women having legal abortions that year tended to be one of the following: young, white, and unmarried, had no previous live births, and were having this procedure for the first time. 1984 had the highest abortion rate since 1973 when they started keeping record, but then it slowly decreased after 1985. Those are just some interesting statistics that I wanted to share. One more interesting stat for you is this. In 1986, the divorce rate for married couples under the age of 18 was 65%. That's pretty high. With that being said, and completely changing gears, I'd like to share with you a couple of people who have beat all odds and become my inspiration, my parents. First, my dad, Fritz. He was born in 1968 here in Billings. He's the youngest of 5 children, but the only boy. He grew up in this very house that I now raise my 4 boys in. His parents were married in their late 20s and stayed married until the death of my grandfather almost 2 years ago. My grandpa had his own upholstery business here in the house and always taught my dad to work hard to support his family. Now for my mom, Julie. She was born in 1969, also here in Billings, and she was also the youngest but of 4 children, but she was the only girl. Her parents were married at the age of 18 and 19 and are still happily married today. They also owned a business and taught their kids that you have to work hard in life to reach your goals and to support your family. This is kind of a funny story. My parents met when they were 13 and 14 years old. They were introduced by their older siblings, my aunt and uncle, who were engaged to be married. So yes, my mom's brother is married to my dad's sister. It's kind of a fun story to tell people. They started dating then, and less than 2 years later found out my mom was pregnant. She had just barely turned 15 and my dad 16. What a shocking surprise that was. There they were, not even old enough to gamble, and they were pregnant. Here's where those statistics come into play. Tough choice. I remember my mom telling me how scared she was to tell her parents because she was so young and didn't want to disappoint them. Her brother had committed suicide 2 years before that, and she was scared about how they would react. But she knew they couldn't raise a child alone, so she had to tell them. My dad, on the other hand, chose not to tell his parents until they were on the way to the hospital to deliver. He called from my mom's house and told them over the phone. Anyways, against all odds, they chose to give birth and raise their child, 15 and 16 years old, and they were parents. So February 8th, 1985, a healthy daughter was born, Melissa Marie Mailing. That's me. My dad worked at a restaurant while he finished high school, while my mom stayed home. They both lived with their parents until they had saved enough money to rent this tiny 1-bedroom apartment. My dad worked, had a family, and managed to graduate from high school on time. My mom chose to drop out to take care of me. She said that after she found out she was pregnant, she lost all but one best friend. About 1.5 years later, they decided to get married. They were married here in Billings, and at that time they were 17 and 18 years old. A year after that, they had another baby, my little sister, and then 3 years later, my dad working full-time and my mom staying home with us, they had finally my baby brother. We lived in a mobile home until my brother was almost 1. My parents bought a house in a neighborhood with tons of kids and only 2 blocks from our school. They lived there until we were all grown up. During that time, my parents took turns working and getting their education. My mom got her cosmetology license and opened her own salon, and my dad went to college and got his accounting degree. He also has his own accounting firm now. 7 years ago, they moved into their home, which is at least 4 times larger than our childhood home. They have land and they raise turkeys and chickens. They also, at the age of 44 and 45, have 5 grandkids, 4 grandsons, which are my boys, and 1 granddaughter, who is my sister's, and they spoil them absolutely rotten. My parents have made it through some pretty rough times, some of which I remember and some of which I don't. I think about how I am so lucky to be alive. My parents chose to give me life in a time where that wasn't exactly the norm. I remember good times like when they had my sister and brother, and when we moved into our childhood home and thinking how great it was to have a real driveway to ride my bike on. I've always been able to brag about having the youngest parents anywhere I go. I remember very well when I turned 16 and not being able to fathom that my mom was a mother at the same age I was right then. I remember buying movie tickets with the money from my first paycheck, and my dad telling me about his first paycheck he spent on diapers for me. By no means was I deprived. I always have had everything I need plus more. My parents have taught me that raising a family takes a lot of hard work, and having a successful marriage does too. My parents chose to do their best and have shown me what true sacrifice really means. They have been married for almost 28 years now, and there's no doubt in my mind that they will stay married for the rest of their lives. They have always taught me to love, work hard, never give up, and stick together no matter what. The fact that they beat the odds and chose to give me life is something I never understood until I was older and knew the odds, and also how hard it is to be young and have a family. I guess there is no one in this world that I am more thankful for and that I look up to more than my parents. Thank you.